Hello everybody and welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. It's back, Fans Voice. It's been a while, lads, and obviously we've had a couple of fixtures since then. West Ham are doing okay in the league. It's silly season as well. It is the transfer window, and unfortunately this evening we have heard that Robert Snodgrass is on his way out. Shall we touch base with this before we touch on the fixtures? Lads, memories of Robert Snodgrass. Do we think it's even a good decision to let him go at this time of the season?
Considering, how much what we know will happen with whatever money we get from him and whatever wages we save will be mooted about. Claret and Hugh will put some bollocks out there, as they always do. But it won't get spent. We won't invest unless there's a key injury to a player with minimal backup, similar to Kufal. And I think for what we earn out of this, as much as he may be frustrated getting minimal game time for the next 5 to 6 months, I think we could regret this, seeing as he's going to play regular games for West Brom. He's got a good cross on him. We're playing them soon. It's written in the stars that he's going to score a belter like he did against Palace and against us. Whether that costs us the game or not, I don't know. I mean, Rob Snodgrass deserves to be playing football at the age he's at. I don't fault him for wanting to play for regular football, which he will get at West Brom. It's nothing on him. Is he a regular starter? No, but as I keep saying in the watch-alongs, I think for 10 minutes or so, we could have brought him on in certain games, specifically Brighton and Southampton, and cause a bit of damage and put the balls in that Soucek needs when Cresswell is either marked or forced out too wide or just not on the ball. You can't we're too overly reliant on Cresswell for that ball when Snodgrass could put a bloody good ball in. He put one against Spurs for that. I believe. Well, no, he won the free kick, so I'm getting that wrong. It was Cresswell who put the ball in. But Snodgrass can put a ball in. I think we could regret this in the short term. Fair.
Charles, thoughts on Bobby Snodgrass?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it looks like it's going to be confirmed quite soon, and obviously it's sad to see him go. He's, been a good locker room presence for the last couple of years, especially considering just how much hate he got from our owners when we signed him.
We forgot about that.
The fact that he sort of faced up to that like a man, went out on loan to Aston Villa, did well there, came back to us, and it was just a decent squad player to have. I mean, he scored a few decent goals for us last season as well. So, he has contributed. He'll definitely be missed. But in terms of talking about it from a practical standpoint, I think we'll miss him, just as Dennis has said, just in terms of what we know to be true, which is the owners aren't going to delve into their pockets to shore up squad depth. Snodgrass wasn't playing a lot this year, but given with just how congested the fixture list is this year and the amount of injuries we normally get, it would have been very helpful to have a player like Snodgrass waiting in the reserves to come in. So we're not going to get a lot of money for him. There's not a lot of point selling him, but again, it's just something that I guess the owners just want to get the wages off the team right now. But like Dennis says, I mean, we really should look to try and get someone else in, but I can't see that happening.
Yeah, it's a bit. Before we come with Bill, am I correct in thinking he got a 1-year extension in the summer?
I think he would have done either in the summer or in January. I can't quite remember, but definitely. Charles touched on it, the wage thing. I mean, we've saved a lot in wages over the past 2 years.
Since we released Carroll, right?
Yeah, exactly. That type of argument for me does really wind me up. I've seen a couple of comments come in talking about he's not going to start for us. Should we let him go? Type thing, and I do get that to a degree, but we haven't seen significant injuries to either Thomas Soucek and Declan Rice. Fingers crossed we don't see that throughout the season. Bill, is it something with Snodgrass going out? Do we have to go and bring someone in now, whether it's on a loan, whether it's on a cheap deal?
Yeah, I'm agree with the lads. I don't think we should have got rid of him. He's a very good squad player, and as we've seen over the years, we would tend to get rid of squad players with a bit of ability, like Adrian, James Tompkins, for example. We regret it within weeks. So it wouldn't be a surprise if we do get injuries in midfield where we're lacking anyway. Especially in the summer window, we let Cullen go. Obviously, release Jack Wilshere, so we're already light in that area as it was, and we certainly will be now that Snodgrass goes. So yeah, I think we need to try and get someone in. on the limited money we're probably going to have.
Yeah.
If not, promote some of the academy boys, Connor Coventry, those kind of players.
Yeah, we definitely touched on it before we came on, the Coventry thing. Apparently he's got a little bit of a niggle, so not quite sure with that. But it is disappointing. I mean, look, fair play to him. I've never been the biggest Snodgrass fan, just because technically, I know Dennis has touched on his crossing ability, which has been quality, and he did have a purple patch at times for West Ham, but possibly just the wrong time for him to leave. I think it could come back to bite us. Hopefully we don't get any injuries and we see it out. But Simon Johnson says don't. We'll touch on this, actually. I was going to mention this as well.
He's only coming back to go back out. I
want to know your opinion on it. So to give anyone context that's watching, apparently he's coming back to West Ham because his loan spell at Porto has been unsuccessful. Lads, what are we saying about that? Does he have to go straight back out, or do you give him another chance?
Within reason, I give him another chance, but he's not going to get that chance. He's not going to get that chance under Moyes. Simply put, if he's not going to play Benrahma, he is certainly not going to play Anderson. Can you imagine the uproar if he plays Anderson ahead of Benrahma? But knowing Moyes, he probably would do.
Yeah, I was about to say, mate, don't
underestimate him. But yeah, I mean, go on, Dennis. Sorry.
No, you carry on. I was just going to go, basically.
Well, I mean, more on Dennis's point there is that Anderson. I think Moyes has cultivated recently a very hard-working and effort-based team, and from what I've seen from Anderson, although I think he's got good technical ability, I just don't think he fits into that model that we built the team up on. We've already seen someone like Allaire who, not necessarily the quickest or anything like that, but he's worked hard, and that's what's kept him in the squad, as well as Antonio's injury. But Anderson, I just don't think is the right player for our squad. I'd actually look to sell him on in the summer, potentially January if we can. But the trouble is, obviously, his value has dropped massively from what we bought him at. Yeah. So, I mean, we can have him back in the squad, but I don't think he's going to make much of an impact for us. So if we want him just to pad the squad up a bit, sure. But if we loan him out, I won't be too heartbroken about that either.
For me, look, it doesn't work in the team. You touched on it, Charles, in terms of working with Moyes' style of play. And Moyes has given him a chance, to be fair, when he was at West Ham. I think the hope was he'd go out to Porto, get a little bit of market value back, and we could go and recoup some of the money. We were never going to get that £40 million back. Bill, thoughts on Felipe Anderson? Is it just come in and then go straight back out?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think I totally agree with what Charles has said. I mean, Moyes really obviously clearly doesn't fancy him, and we were in a relegation battle, towards the end of last season, and he had him on the bench. And when he did come on, he was really ineffective. So unless he comes back and burns it up in training, which wouldn't put it past him, but I highly doubt it. I think he'll probably go back out somewhere else.
I mean, it literally is that Simpsons bit where Grandpa Simpson walks in, sees Bart, puts his hat back on, and walks out. Tonight, after the show, I'm making that GIF and just having David Moyes, and Anderson. That's what's going to happen. Anderson, they're going to find another loan for him because hasn't appeared for. Oh wait, yeah, did he appear for us in the league or did he?
League Cup, he did.
In the Cup. I don't know if he's allowed to leave again on loan, but might have to sell him. Probably. No, Sullivan will probably sell him for $5 million and go, well, I had to.
Well, do you know what? You look at that signing now, and the fact that I'm not sure 10, 15 mil we might get from him if someone plucks for him. In fact, he hasn't gone to Porto, and they don't even trust him.
We spent on him. I think we spent as much on him after instalments as we did Hallow. I could be wrong.
Probably, mate. Probably exactly.
Around 40 million, something like that.
Yeah, and that is a 1 million billion trillion % Sullivan signing, no matter how much Claret and you try to rewrite history. I remember the article and him saying that Mr. Sullivan made this deal happen. I want to thank Mr. Sullivan because David Sullivan was so adamant that he was going to be a hit. I remember reading stuff at the time, people saying, oh, yeah, I've watched Syria Anderson, he blows hot and cold and stuff. I just put that down to just, everyone's suddenly an expert on a player when he signs for us, But look, he had a great first season and had a good game for us against Watford away in the third game of the season, but other than that, he's not been great since. It's not been great since the end. I think United away was the last good game he had for us. Really, United away and Watford away. At the beginning of last season, and then whatever money we can get for him, I think right now. It is silly season, but for a player that's down on form and been chewed up by media, drives the price. I don't understand Clarion Hughes' game because it drives the price of players. But of course, we're not going to get anywhere close to what his market value is right now. But at the same time, if we do flog him for £10 million and then again don't sign anybody, I do wonder what the fuck we're doing. I would rather Snodgrass will sort of gets his go in 6 months anyway. We might as well get some coin for him if he's not going to play. But Anderson, I would rather Anderson be sat on the bench and do fuck all for 6 months and then sell him for that in summer than then be down 2 squad players, 15 million for the pair of them, and do nothing with it.
Well, this is what I want to say. Like, how many Premier League squads out there have realistically, when Snodgrass goes, only 1 centre midfield backup and 2 recognised strikers? It is absolutely ridiculous. I don't want to make it too negative because we are doing very well in the league at the moment, and we could go and do even better if we go and beat Burnley or even if we get an FA Cup run. But certainly, it is concerning.
Well, just to follow up on Dennis's point as well, like my big worry is that whatever money we get from this January window, I feel like the board have set out already what they're going to sign, and in my opinion, it's just going to be 1 striker and maybe a loan in another position. I think anything else, I think they put money aside for that already, and I think any money that we get this January, I think it's just going to be put back into loans that they've got to pay off or something like that. This is purely speculation, but in terms of like putting more money into transfers, I just don't see it happening. I don't see any of the Anderson money or anything going back into Moyes' transfer budget.
Unless it's some dodgy deal that, I say dodgy, sorry, some silly deal like the one we got for Kufal, where a club in the Czech Republic are happy to sell us one of Souček's mates.
I'll take that, to be fair.
1 million up front and then 10 million in 10 instalments. Because I think didn't X say something like we paid 1.5 million up front for Kufal and the rest is instalments. Like it's just ridiculous. Like that's and also the little creeping fear I got in the back of my head, right? And I've just thought of this now. Like, thinking about it earlier today, reminded it now. Like, remember we pulled out of Ben Rama at the last minute. Apparently, it's all tied up with the money, and then we pulled out at the last minute, right? And did a loan, and now we have an obligation to buy him next year. Anderson money, the Snodgrass money is going towards that obligation to buy him.
Trust me, man.
Here's your 1 guaranteed signing. Here is a free transfer. Thank you. Goodbye. That is our window. I'm already predicting our summer window. We will sign someone on a free transfer. If there's a major injury or someone, for example, someone comes in and buys a player off us we weren't expecting to go, that's it. If Fabianski isn't cutting it, Randolph will be our number 1, and Moyes will have to play our young players, which may not be a bad thing in hindsight. We've got some very good young players coming through. But I've got this inkling feeling that this money that we're getting for Anderson and Stockgrass is just going to be put towards paying Brentford what we have promised them. So David Sullivan doesn't have to go into his £1 billion bank account. Spend any money.
I honestly don't know anything like what I've seen over the past 2 years in terms of trying to colour squad. And then it's like, at what point is he going to get to Moyes where it's just about manageable? And you just hope that luck sees us out towards the end of the season, or we do get somebody in and we avoid the injuries. Because one serious injury, lads, to Tommy Souček, as we saw against Everton, you lose that outlet and it becomes a bit of a worry.
And then you've got Noble in midfield with what backup on the bench for central midfield? We got rid of Josh Cullen for less than £1 million.
Yeah, I mean, guarantee our form. If we lose one of Rice or Souček, our form will dip sensationally. Honestly, I respect what Noble's done for the club and everything like that, but we need to get some form of replacement in this window. Just in terms of, look, if it's Lindstrom on a free, fine, that's fine. We just need to get someone to back him up, or we need someone that can overtake him in the lineup as the backup midfielder to Souček and Rice, because otherwise I think the centre of the park is just going to be absolutely brutalised.
The earmark player, and I think it'd be a very good signing, is that I think it's Kral at Spartak Moscow.
For me, I thought you said Slavia Prague.
No. But he's one of Souček's mates from the national team, and he looks tidy, and he's a young young pup in consideration. He's only, I think, 1 year older than Rice. He'd be a very good signing, but that's a summer signing type of player, not a January signing. The other ones is there's a couple of the young lad that's pulling up trees at Slavia that you and Dan were looking at. His name escapes. Seema.
Yeah.
Again, that's a summer signing. We're not getting him in January. Slavia need him. The same with the young Sparta Prague striker that is, X confirmed that we're looking at. Again, the name escapes me. It's a check now. And then there's the goalie at Slavia. So those are probably going to be our 4 signings we would look at to bring in, other than Josh King. None of which would happen in January, in my honest opinion. They're all summer signings.
The thing we'll touch on Noble, because that was quite a big part actually of the Christmas fixture list. But with Josh King, I've heard that possibly we'll be trying to. Yeah, that's him. But possibly we won't even sign him until the summer and try and get a pre-contract. I mean, that for me is nuts.
To buy him, according to Claret and Hugh, which is
I'm not sure why we have to save money.
By the logic of loaning to buy a player who is free in 6 months.
I know, but this is the problem though, and I think it's always sort of hypothetical because we never know where we're going to be. We are looking up. Like I said to you lads before, I thought we'd actually lost to Brighton, but we actually are unbeaten over that Christmas period. Just because of how bad it sticks out in my head. The Josh King thing, if we get to January, February and we get another injury to Antonio, or even we looked on that left-hand side, we spoke about Fornals on the watch-along, as good as he is work rate-wise, we need a bit of mobility on that left-hand side. For me, I don't care if he costs 10 million. 10 million in this market is still a good deal. Go out and get him. Don't play around.
I said Sullivan and Gold are mentally stuck at Birmingham in that sort of 03 to 06 period when it comes to transfer fees. They see Kufal 5.5 million as an outlay. Yeah. For those that didn't watch the watch along for Brighton, there was a great moment for about 10-15 minutes where no one said anything because people passing it around the middle of the park, then lumping it, a bit of head tennis, and then suddenly, what do you know? Trossard has it, But yeah, so the reason why the Brighton game feels like a defeat is because there was actually only 60 minutes of football played.
That game. When we saw it, obviously it went to that 5-3-2 that we'd not seen with West Ham or Moyes, and I was a lot of you were very negative. I was trying to be like, maybe he'll be all right. Obviously, I was clearly wrong.
I also said, look, it's done now. The good thing is that we got substitutes that can change it, and then we didn't do that.
And we didn't bring them on. And this is the thing, like people talk about Brighton, and to be fair to them, they play some good stuff, and they lack a bit of a cutting edge. But for us to sit behind the ball against Brighton
ridiculous,
was bizarre. It was a bizarre decision. And Dennis, you said at the time, if we sort of push towards, possibly Europa League, top 10, we'll look back at that game and think, why on earth did we play that team?
Or vice versa, we could look back, if we start looking over our shoulders, let's say we'd lost to Southampton and Everton, we then look back at Brighton and say, look, if we had won that game, we wouldn't necessarily be suddenly looking over our shoulders at the likes of, Crystal Palace and Newcastle. But thankfully we're not, because we pulled our fingers out our asses for the next 2 games. Sorry to sort of take over. There's one name that's been mentioned in the comments that I completely forgot about because it's all gone quiet, but Lundstrom. Is that still on the radar? I don't know.
What I know is those contract talks. He's not going to sign with Sheffield United, so they're going to have to sell him if they want to get something in January. And Wilder, by the sound of it, you speak to Sheffield United fans, they're not happy on him being in the side, which I'm not saying is going to affect Wilder's decision, but he'll certainly look at that and say, if he pushes for a move, I don't think that price is that high. I've heard
700,000. Yeah, exactly.
Steal for
you've got to take him.
That even in the Championship, that if we sign someone, if there's a player that's playing half decent in the Championship, they say you can have him for £750,000. I'd give him a punt. I'd give him a go.
Proven in the Premier.
That is nothing in today's market.
Yeah.
So if we say right, we give him a 2.5-year deal, and with like something, and let's just say we get an injury to Rice or Suchek. They're completely different midfielders, but he is a lot more technically gifted and got a lot more speed about him than Mark Noble.
Yeah, and I think he gets overlooked because of the way Sheffield United are playing this season. But every time I've seen him in that Sheffield United side, he's one of their better players. You can't get away
from him. Last season he was impressive.
Yeah, and the goals he gets from midfield.
How much of that was him playing better because he's playing with someone like Fleck that's unknown, and this is where there is an element of risk. If they're saying 7.5 million, I go, still cheap, but I know, but 750 grand, that's less than we sold Sam Byram for.
Well,
that's less.
Did we sell Cullen for around that much as well?
We sold Cullen for, I think, 800 grand. I think.
Yeah.
So if you were to say, right, we're getting rid of Josh Cullen, we're going to sign John Ludstrom in summer, everyone would have gone, you know what? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with this. 750 grand, absolute steal. And Sullivan can't make any excuse about affording that. And he's going to turn around and go, oh, well, it was 750 grand, but the guy wanted $500,000 a week wages. Nah.
But the thing is,
Lundstrom's going to want $500,000 a week. I'm hoping he doesn't ask for that.
I'm not going to dig Noble out. I can't bring myself to do it. But obviously, when he did come into the side against Chelsea and against Brighton, it was hapless, lads. I'm not going to dig him out. By the way, on this point, I don't think Moyes helps him. He asks him to play in the 10 role. He asks him to press. It showcases some of his vulnerabilities. But I mean, what do we do with Mark Noble now? Is it a case of just sort of him transitioning onto the coaching staff? Do we keep him for squad depth if we're not actually going to go out and sign anyone?
Both of those things, in my opinion. Sorry, I let you go, Charles. I've spoken too much already.
I was going to say that I think the games that he played both against was it Chelsea and Brighton. I think both of those games just showed that he's not up with the game. He's not up for the game, the Premier League game. I just think I think hopefully we can just transfer him into the coaching setup, or at least lead him into some sort of path, whether that's coaching badges or whether it's coaching youngsters or something like that. Because I don't think he would be of value to us on payroll as someone who could offer squad depth. I honestly don't think, based on those two performances at least, that he's going to provide us with anything that's going to change games or going to improve our game. Again, I love him and what he's done for the club and what he's achieved. But I just think at this point now he needs to realise that the legs aren't holding up for 90 minutes. They're barely holding up for 45 minutes, and we should really look to get someone in who can keep up with the game that is being played at, Souček and Rice are two of the hardest runners in the game. And, the fact that they've done so well, playing 90 minutes for nearly every single game this season is just amazing. So we need players like that. And unfortunately, Mark Noble doesn't fit that mould.
Yeah, I mean, he is really being set up to fail by Moyes effectively by asking him to play in a position where you need to put a lot of running and do a lot of pressing. Because even in his peak, or not even in his peak, in his younger years, he wouldn't have been able to do that. That is not the type of player Mark Noble is. And you can't fault his efforts. And actually, rather than saying the legs are going, I don't think the legs are going in the sense that he can't play for 90 minutes, because I think he did well to stay, still be chasing the ball down. It's just the fact that he does not have the pace or the ability to fit this way of playing. He needs to be sitting back and collecting the balls and pinging them out to the wing. That's not how we're playing. Also, you've got Rice and Souček, when that is needed, doing that, who are already playing. So bringing him into that side, he was never going to succeed, and he was only going to get the ire of the fans. I think it is a case of adding him into the coaching side, but he still has a role to play. He can still come on for 10, 15 minutes at the end of the game to close a game out for us, in my opinion. But David Moyes doesn't like making substitutions. He seems to think that players can play for 90 minutes if needs be.
Well, No's played 90 minutes, which is ridiculous. I just don't understand it.
Whereas to risk that, to alleviate that risk of injury to Rice or Souček, if the game is done, one of those games where we were 4-0 up or 3-0 up, play him for 10 minutes. We're not going to concede 5 goals or 5 Mark Noble mistakes in 10 minutes. It's not going to happen. He's not that bad, and we're not that bad. But so that's where he would play. When the game is tight and it's 1-0, like Sheffield United, like Fulham, like Everton, I get it. Don't bring on, because you need Rice and Souček for that ability. That's where he plays. I certainly plays in the cup game. I'll be playing him 90 minutes on Saturday, captain's armband, on TV, not last hurrah, but it's a feel good moment for him to still be playing at this age, and it's a game where he is going to still be a class above the players he's playing against, and play him alongside, if he's fit, Connor Coventry, them two in midfield. Give Connor Coventry 90 minutes alongside Mark Noble to fucking learn.
Yeah.
And it's so much more. He could teach Connor Coventry more in 90 minutes than Connor Coventry is probably going to learn in under 23 football.
But I think as well, if anything, Dennis, you are right, that last hurrah type thing. But actually, just to give a rest to either Rice or Soucek, I mean, the work rate them two get through is ridiculous.
But knowing Moyes, he will probably play more or less the sort of. I remember we played Shrewsbury away when he first took over. Admittedly, the difference between that Shrewsbury side who were chasing promotion from League One and very unlucky not to go up, and Macclesfield, who have been relegated from the Football League and are not doing so well in the conference, from my understanding. He's still probably going to play a tough lineup and just rest Antonio, because all he did in that game was rest Noble. He rested Noble, Reed, and Antovic, and played Burke, Cullen, and Hernandez. I remember, and we drew 0-0. Moyes doesn't really rest teams.
He doesn't, and we know that too well. But we obviously we've got Stockport on Monday, lads. I mean, let's talk about the FA Cup. I mean, Moyes always tends to kind of give it, we'll do our best, we'll try and go. But you look at how well we're doing in the league this season. You look at the squad depth as well. Is it more of an opportunity just to give our first team a rest and just sort of keep them fresh for the league, or would you fancy a bit of a cup run?
I think we'd all fancy a cup run. I think we say every season, don't we? But I think considering where we are in the league, I don't think we need to worry about relegation so much, do we, this season? So I don't see why we can't go for it. I mean, I think Moyes owes us, really. I mean, that West Brom Cup game last season, we were awful, got knocked out, and I think was it Wigan? We got knocked out too in his first spell. Yeah. So I think he needs to he needs to go for it this season.
Charles, thoughts on the big FA Cup? Can West Ham win it?
Well, all I want is a win. That's all I want. We can play as badly as we want, but we just got to get through to the next round. I'm hoping that a lot of first team players or normal Premier League first team players are rested. And I think again, just like Dennis and someone in comments said, I think giving someone like Coventry going the team, maybe even Nathan Holland, someone like that, just to get back in and try and show themselves a little bit. But I think just play a few fringe players, a few youngsters in there, and hopefully they can get the job done. And let's hope that it doesn't end up being a sort of Nottingham Forest-esque performance from a few years ago, because that was depressing to watch.
I don't think it's going to be that bad, and
I'm hoping not. I think we've got enough quality to get through.
No, I mean, look, someone said in the comment section, and this rumour has been Odebeku. For all of you that have seen him, obviously, he was banging the goals in the under-23s earlier in the season. He got an injury. I believe he was going to get his chance in the Carabao Cup, and we were robbed a little bit of seeing him there because some of the finishes, even at under-23 level, was sublime. Potentially he's fit for this game, and I think he'll start. Are you excited to see what he's got to offer, given West Ham? Currently, we only have 2 recognised strikers. Do you think a good performance could actually get him even to bench level and give us a little bit more squad depth?
I was waiting for someone else to go, because I'm conscious of hogging the mic. But yeah, absolutely. Equally, I would love Haller to start and get a double hat-trick, but he's on the way out.
He needs a break, mate. He needs a break.
He needs a break. Yeah, he does need a break. 100%. But we know David Moyes. David Moyes does not really play youth players, if I'm honest with you. I expect him to be on the bench and possibly get like a 5-10 minute run out. I don't know whether he's going to start. I think he's going to give Haller a start and go, right, well, we've got to get you scoring. Here's non-league opposition. Score. Go
on, Seb. Go on, Seb.
Doesn't score against Stockport. They'll be right.
But that, I mean, I would start Xander Silva, Simon, except he's on loan in Greece.
He's on loan, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably actually squads, in my opinion. So I 100%, I would start him if he's fit to do so. What I would say is just categorically do not start Antonio.
Yeah, I agree completely.
End of discussion. I did say initially maybe give him a start against the Duck game, but he came on, had a good impact at Everton. I do not want him to bugger anything up. Yeah, exactly. And
you're going to say that.
We're going to need him against Burnley and West Brom, because those are the type of games where he is going to be a game changer for us.
Yeah.
a lot more so than playing, Liverpool and Palace, where, for example, I think, although I'd rather Antonio, I don't think the difference is that massive. Whereas, an opposition like West Brom, an opposition like Burnley, getting him behind is key. So therefore, I would start him 100% ahead of Antonio and Haller if fit to start. However, I'd rather anyone start up front instead of Antonio because I don't want to get injured, and I just want as many young players, even if it's just 2 youth players. Even if it's just
I think
playing in this game.
I think you'll be surprised. I think he'll play a few. I mean, I've got to be honest. I think Moyes will. I think he'll not throw the game. He'll put a strong enough side out to go and win it. But I think in terms of the competition long term, because of the squad depth, and we saw it last season, and even in the Carabao Cup where we almost played like a second team out there. And I think could come back to bite us. We would like a cup run, but just look at the squad depth.
Against Stockport, I think a changed team would still be fine personally against Stockport. If this was like a young, hungry League One, League Two side, like we struggled against Gillingham last year, and we let Wimbledon Gators still fresh in my memory. But that was a completely different thing. Yeah, Ashby would start for me.
Holland, Longello. There's quite a few out there.
Nathan Holland would start. Although he's not young, I would want David Martin to start a game so we can have that possibly his last chance to play for us because he's going to be released next year. And it's not the opposition. I mean, come on. Ben Rama come on and just do spin the ball.
I'd love to see Ben Rama against Stockport. I really, really would. That'd be.
You know what happened? Non-league Bruiser will come out and break his leg, won't he? I want to see Ashby playing. I want to see Alessi play, Coventry play, and I want to see Adebayo start up top. And I'd like to see both Randolph and Fabianski rested in goal purely because if Fabianski doesn't make it for the Burnley game, then there's less risk for Randolph, and I don't think he's going to get much of a workout in this game. I think the saves he makes should be routine. I think give David Martin, like with Noble, one last sort of wave to the cameras on live television. I'm playing for West Ham away, sort of thing.
I'm just laughing at his comment, Richard, and quite rightly does say they aren't even in the Football League, but we're West Ham, Richard, and the TV are ready. The TV are ready for us to slip up.
I can't remember the name of it. Phil will know this. In 97-98, we played some absolute, never heard of them, some complete random football team, and we only won 2-1. And it did get a bit hairy at minutes. In 97-98, I remember, I think Hartson had to bail us out.
If you don't remember it, Dennis, then
I've got no idea. The name of it. It's a name that's like they're not even on Football Manager in the lower leagues. It's like
they're greyed out.
Default.
You can't see it.
No, come on. Look, let's get back to the Premier League. Let's talk about that Southampton game because obviously we haven't had a chance, and obviously Southampton going and beating Liverpool. Kind of felt it might be coming. Liverpool struggled to break them down, and they got that early goal, which was fantastic. You look now back at that result, thinking. Draw's not that bad, but at the time, if Dennis and Charles, you was obviously there, like that last 20, we really felt that we could have possibly got something. And I even felt a bit greedy when I did my post-match, thinking maybe we could have got 3 points, but it's a good point and it's a good clean sheet.
Yeah, if we set up with different tactics, sorry, Bill, I'll be quick, but if we set up with different tactics, I think if we were more attacking, then I think we definitely could have pressed for the win. I think quality-wise, I think the teams are, pretty equal. If not, we maybe had some of the better chances, and obviously that big chance from Ben Rama. Great save from the keeper there. I mean, that really was just biggest chance of the game and a quality save. So can't do much about that. But yeah, I mean, overall, look, you're going to take a point against the Southampton side that are really doing well and have obviously just come off the back of a big win against Liverpool. So altogether, pretty solid point in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think. We set up well because we set up 4-2-3-1, the standard what I call the Football Manager formation. What it was the personnel. We had 2 sluggish personnel. We had because it's the rule of 2, as I said with you guys and you guys.
Angus,
yes.
The guy that's on everywhere.
Ashby. No, Ashby's the right back. Ashby's our right back. Anyway. It's the rule of 2. You can have 2 of your slower players, but you've got to have 2 of your more mobile players. And we only had 1 in Ben Rama. We had Fornells, Yarmolenko, Haller, no pace in that front 3, as I said.
Yeah.
And if we'd had one of Jared Bowen, Antonio, or Lanzini in the middle with Ben Rama out wide, would have been a lot better. You would have had a much more, if not speed, but more pace in that team. And it was, how many times did we have the perfect opportunity to get at them, but yet Yarmolenko was doing some silly flick and then was on the floor and then couldn't control it and then couldn't run. And I'm saying this is someone that absolutely fucking loves Yarmolenko. He was terrible.
Oh, mate, he was awful. He was awful defensively. He was awful offensive. And I always keep saying I don't want to dig him out, but I will dig him out. Some of the flicks he was doing was just like, I was like, mate, I remember him backheeling the ball and thinking, to who? What are we trying to do here? And like,
honestly, remembering his name now, Angus did some video where he did some flicks and tricks, and honestly, it was better than what anything Yarmolenko's done over the
well, Yarmolenko's issue is, well, I mean, not only is his pace, but the fact Moyes is playing him on that wide side of an attacking midfield three, and he can't really offer any. And we sit here week in, week out. We're such a functional team. We need that transition so badly, and he just slows us down. And in that game,
sit him in the middle and have him knock it out wide to the more pacier players. That's the only way he's going to fit into the system is to play him as a 10. But we got better 10s, of course. But I'm saying, exactly. If you're going to play him, you've got to play him as a 10 or as a deep line centre forward with high wingers. But, you know, we have David Moyes as our manager. It's a miracle he played 4-5-1, you know.
The more I look back at that game and the more I look back at the Brighton game with the team selection, I just think he was just giving people like rests. He really, really was. Because you see when he brought on Bowen and I think he brought on Antonio as well for Southampton, we looked a completely different side. We just looked like we could score a goal. And that change shows you how much we're reliant on those two players.
Yeah, and it shows how weak our squad is.
Especially
in midfield. But I think the Southampton game, I think obviously we got a point. I think we would have took that before the game started.
You would have taken it when Dawson nearly gifted them the goal that never was in the opening couple of minutes.
Yeah, and especially obviously being Liverpool, but you know, get a point away from home. And apart from that open 5-10 minute spell of theirs at the start of the match, I mean, Danny Ings in particular barely kicked it. You know, obviously we're a bit unsure how Craig Dawson going to do on his debut. Apart from that shaky start, I thought he was excellent, and he was against Everton, which we'll talk about later. So I think, to keep a really good attacking, high energy side like Southampton, keep them quiet for the majority of the match, and you know, apart from a really good save by Alex McCarthy in the second half, we easily could have got 3 points, and I don't think it would have flattered us really. So it was a well-deserved point.
It goes under the. Sorry, mate. I just want to say about this. It goes under the radar, but for Nows, I know he misses sitters every week, and it's so infuriating. But I actually thought his work rate, particularly defensively, to support Creswell against Southampton and again against Everton, was really important. And we do look better defensively, which is funny from a number 10 when he's in the side.
Yeah, you need someone like him to cover someone like Craig, especially if you're playing a back four. I mean, it's crucial in a back four, especially when we're missing Masuaku, who normally fills in quite well in that role, both as an attacker and as a defender. So yeah, I think he's been integral, and you know, he made that great. I don't know whether it would have been offside or not, but he still made a great interception, kind of like a bicycle kick interception or something like that in the second half against Southampton. Yeah, which was really integral, and like I say, Corey, his work rate throughout both those games were really good. And you know, the thing is, sometimes we kind of give him a bad rap because he doesn't score a goal or he misses a bad chance, and he does do that, and it is frustrating. But he is a good footballer at the end of the day. He's someone who can bring something to the team. And I think, you know, if he started these next couple of games, I think it would be well deserved.
Yeah, completely agree.
And with what I was saying with Danny Ings, to pick up what Bill said, is the first 10 minutes seemed to have our number, balls and over the top, Dawson slow. And then after they had that goal disallowed, they just didn't do it again. And I was saying that we were in for a bloody, you know, catastrophe. I think I mentioned that we're going to have air crash investigators come and investigate based on the opening 10 minutes. And then they just stopped doing that and decided to try and pass it through us.
Yeah.
Well, look, it was Theo Walcott, mate, that was giving us nightmares, particularly on
Peters. Carl Walker-Peters in the second half was having absolute free ones and started playing as a 10 at one point. So they were trying to walk it through us, and we just crammed it and held out for a goalless draw. I say held out; we could quite easily have won it, but what I meant is they didn't breach our defences. Overall, it's okay to performance. I'm obviously happy Craig Dawson didn't cost us that stuff, but I do think we need to keep our feet on the ground a little bit with his performances. People comparing him to Ginge, not to think that's a bit of blasphemy. But he did a lot better than I expected. Just had an incredibly shaky first 10 minutes against Southampton.
Yeah, plus he hasn't really played.
Yeah.
So I think that probably has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think all things considered, good on him.
It does. I've got to be honest. It does scare me a little bit. Like every time he's
nearly own goal against Everton.
But again, I think second half against Everton, and I think Everton we could probably deal with that. Our sort of defence sitting back in the low block, soaking up. He's great in the air. You got to give him credit. He's good in the air. Less so with his feet, but I mean, I'll take it defensively. He has got a lot, and I think because our expectations were so low, and he come in and he did play okay. I think that's kind of settled things down a little bit, and good on him because there was a lot of backlash when he signed as well.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to get that if you get a player, that's been relegated twice, really, and the fact that you got a lot of stick from the Watford fans as well last season, and all that, and plus we were linked with players who could easily have been first team regulars at centre back, and we end up getting someone who was at the start of our fourth choice. So that's probably why there was that backlash. But you can only prove the fans wrong on the pitch, and he's done that so far.
I still think Balbuena should be starting ahead of Dawson. I think he's just a bit more solid. He's obviously got that better partnership with Ogbonna. Although I think Dawson has been playing, relatively well, I think in terms of if we're talking in terms of who's a better player overall, I think Balbuena should be starting alongside Ogbonna. But I mean, it's great to see Dawson do well because at least it gives us hope that if there was an injury to our centre backs, then we might not be in an absolute catastrophe. But yeah, I mean, fair, like I said, fair dues to him for doing. For keeping 2 clean sheets in his first 2 games. I mean, that's all you could ask from him, really.
You have to fear for Diop, though. How bad's he been in training?
He's going to be the new centre forward after we flog Haller and don't bring in Antovic.
Yeah, that's what X said, wasn't he? He's been playing up front.
Apparently, he's been practicing shots after games or something.
Honestly, mate, it'll probably be midfielder if Snodgrass goes. That's our backup. But I think Diop, he did have a shaky game against Palace. To be fair, I know he recovered in the second half, but I think Moyes just looks at that and thinks, I don't know. And Dawson, although he's not composed on the ball, he can be a bit no nonsense. And I think Moyes would rather favour that.
I don't think Balbuena's that brilliant on the ball either. So I don't think there's much difference between them.
As much as you can talk about Roberto, but when he threw it out, but the touch from Balbuena to basically just give it to Dwight McNeil was horrendous. And with Dawson, as I've had feedback from Watford fans, the consensus is that yes, he's got the turning circle of a U-boat. Yes, he can't pick out a player for a 5-yard pass. So basically, if the ball is in the air and no player is around him, he's solid. He's solid at winning the ball in the air or taking it down and hoofing it out. But he's just got liability for giving away fouls. And again, if a player backs into him and turns, it's good night. You've got to have the paciest centre back in the world partnering him to make a cover because he ain't keeping up with him. Yeah. He's got, again, that's where the turning circle of a U-boat comparison.
But I think we like Bill touched on, we did have those same kind of things about Balbuena last season where he was those sloppy mistakes. And I think given him time, he's actually improved this season. You would look at maybe Dawson and think if he starts to play now, if Moyes prefers him to Balbuena with Ogbonna, maybe he becomes a little bit more composed and he gets his confidence.
When we go back to when Masuaku, our prince, comes back, and we go back to 5 at the back, Dawson, Ogbonna, and Creswell could be.
Yeah, no problem with that. No problem with that.
You've got the perfect mix of Ogbonna's pace of decision making, Dawson's no nonsense, no bullshit approach, and Creswell as the ball player. You got the perfect 3 there. You know, not very makeshift, very much like you've jumble them all together, sort of thing. It's not a set partnership. It's not exactly going to be, the dream back three of,
Yeah,
Terry
it's not going to be in the
Ferdinand.
FIFA Team of the Year, is it?
Yeah, it's not going to be. It's not going to be like.
It should be.
It's going to be like peak Rio Ferdinand, Cellini, and Sergio Ramos in the back three. But it will work. It could work very well, and obviously with a three at the back, with Dawson maybe as the centre of the three at the back, or on the right side, it could be. You could be a lot more calmer. Whereas Dawson, Rice was having to come back. Remember, Rice took the ball off of Dawson against Southampton. Like, no, let me do the passing. Thank you.
So the thing is, sorry, Charles. When we got Dawson in, it was supposed to be in a back three. So I was actually like, well, I'm all right with a back three. That's absolutely fine if he's got players beside him. It was just when it got to that back four, and we haven't played back four for quite a while, so I was a bit aggy about it. But I mean, I actually think the defence as a whole have switched on as a back four now, and we are defending in general a lot better.
Yeah, so did against Everton.
Suits a back four a lot better for me as well.
Who's this?
Yeah, agreed.
Soufal suits a back four a lot better.
Oh, Soufal has been. Should we touch on him? He's been absolutely in the Everton game. He didn't give Richarlison a sniff, and for me, I know Souček and Rice, they are consistent performers, but Soufal he barely puts a foot wrong. I haven't seen him this season put a foot wrong.
No mistakes from him. He just gets on with his business. He's just a proper right back, And I've seen a few people criticise him for not having great pace. I think he's pretty quick. He's not like lightning fast or anything, but he's quick enough to keep up with some tricky wingers. And we've seen already that he's controlled Eze, he's controlled Zaha, he's controlled Richarlison. Richarlison had to switch over to the other wing because Soufal was so strong in that area. So, I think altogether we've got just a really, really good player, and our two Czech princes are really doing the job for us at the moment.
Yeah, up to our head of recruitment, Thomas Souček.
Do you know what though? You touched on it, Dennis. I'm buzzing to see Arthur Masuaku back in a West Ham shirt. We have missed him down that left-hand side. There's no doubt about it. And we wouldn't have said that a year ago. I think probably a year ago. Not sure.
Back when it was a flat back four, it was, I can't remember who it was. There's someone that would always tweet it and say, Cresswell, everyone will slate him. Masuaku will come in and have 2 good games. Then he'll be poor. People will slate him. Cresswell will come in, have 2 good games. Then he'll go poor. People will slate him. Repeat. It's been there. And again, we touched on it when we first started doing these. We were talking about left back. The left back, that's the one. But switching to a back five. I mean, we had that with Moyes, and I remember best football Masuaku's played for us. Under David Moyes last time, his assist against Southampton for Antovic was absolutely perfect. People remember the one where he's pretty much on the halfway line.
Yeah, no, mate, it was good.
In the air, and Antovic just takes it first time out of the air, bang in.
Southampton, wasn't it?
Yeah, Southampton, that game where it was like, if we didn't win, we were probably fucked.
Oh, that's when we barked at Mark Hughes, wasn't it?
Sorry?
I don't know.
That's when we barked at Mark Hughes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Because Mark Hughes was Southampton manager by that point. He'd been sacked by Stoke and become Southampton manager.
Yeah.
And I do remember Anatovic proper celebrating, he also, was doing something with his hands as well towards the bench as well, because he scored twice.
He's just running, sprinting towards Hughes. It was brilliant.
João Mario scored that day as well.
Let's talk about it then. Let's talk about Arnie. I know there's been a couple of comments mentioned. I mean, we do it every single transfer window, but so just to give everyone context, it's not familiar.
Look at Dennis's face.
Apparently,
I'm so tired of this.
I know, mate. We just got to talk about it, and we can get it done and over.
Just repeat this clip for the next time.
You don't want him. You don't want him. You don't want him. All right. Okay, look, I mean, actually, you know what? You've done me now. I can't be bothered to talk about him either. It's always going to be there, isn't it? It's always going to be there, particularly with that Chinese Super League, the wage cap. Is he available? If he is available, Dennis, just for devil's advocate, if he is available on a deal, would you take him on loan?
There's no point because he's not fucking match fit.
Yeah, but would you? He could come back, give him a month. No.
All right. So we bring him back on loan after he said that he didn't want to play for West Ham because he was tired of carrying the team by default, basically telling most of the locker room, almost all of which are still here, you're not good, you're not as good as me, and you're a burden to me. So first of all, we got that fucking problem. Then you've got the fact that David Sullivan, say what you like about him, once he gets pissed off with someone, that's it. So this deal's not going to happen. This is why I'm getting so fed up of talking about it, because it's just not going to happen.
But the thing is,
now we're going to sign him, and that clip is going to be clipped up with the Curb Your Enthusiasm music, because it's going to happen now. I said that on YouTube. But it's not happening.
No, it probably won't. But it's the fact that Moyes continues to want him. You know, every window we hear Moyes wants him. Moyes wants him. Do you not ever think at one point maybe someone can see some ground?
Who says that Moyes wants him?
I swear X said it, mate.
X says that Moyes wants him, but the owner.
Full disclosure, I hadn't heard X had said it. So
there you go.
If X said it, that's fine. I always thought it was just not even Claret and Hugh. It was just paper talk, thinking, well, we did well before. West Ham need a backup striker. At 2 and 2.
No, it has some legs. It has some legs, but it's not.
It has some legs, okay, but the legs are chained to the floor.
Sort of shackled legs, but
they're shackled not on a training pitch in China, because he hasn't been training. And Nikita Jelavic has a better scoring record than him out there. Let's sign Nikita Jelavic back.
Yeah, but I saw the record for Arnie under Moyes. It's something stupid. It's like 23. Is it like 23 goals and 6 assists or something mental like that?
He wouldn't have scored that much in Moyes. He only played for.
Oh, I probably got it wrong. Like 17 goals, or it was a lot of goals.
All of his goals that season, he scored 4 under Moyes, but they were in the league. He didn't score in the FA Cup for us that year, and I think it was 10. I think he scored 10 goals that season, but all of them came under Moyes. His first goal against Chelsea was under Moyes. And it was looking like a pretty terrible signing until then. Moyes can undoubtedly get the best out of him, but is he going to come here on loan to just sit on the bench for Antonio? No. He's going to cause problems if he comes here if he doesn't play every week.
The thing is,
if he's not fit enough or he's not playing well, and Antonio is in the form of his life, why should he be dropped for some snake that fancies coming back just because he doesn't like life in China?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, look, mate, I mention it because even social media is still divided. There are still people out there that, despite all the things that he's done, would take him back. Jeff, but it's just one of them things, isn't it? It's just one of them things. Every transfer window, I think, until Arnie retires and Moyes is at West Ham, it will probably
I'm not going to read it out loud, but everyone go on fake Colton's tweet about the Anatovic situation. I think he put it out today. That's mine, but because of the language used, I'm not going to repeat it on YouTube. But that's pretty much my thoughts towards the situation. I'm not too bothered about players leaving West Ham, and I'm not even too bothered with players leaving West Ham for better, and throwing their toys out the pram about it. But the fact he went to China for money, he just went to China for the money, and now he's bored and fancies coming back to West Ham. And he's going to come back and say, "Oh, I always loved this club." He didn't love this club, but when he played for us, that wasn't a problem because he was a bastard and he was our bastard sort of type thing. But the unrest he caused when he in that January transfer window 2019, and it derailed that season where we could have had a much better finish if we had a match fit on Antovic, all through. It took a while for a match fit. People really are just forgetting. How we look back on rose-tinted glasses. I'm not aimed at anyone here, but people listening, we always look naturally as human beings. We look back rose-tinted glasses and to the good old days and stuff like that. But my God, it's a no-win situation. There are better options out there. Give me Josh King any day. Yeah. He's playing football right now. I guarantee the Championship is a better level than the Chinese Super League. I don't care. It is. He's already playing football at a better level, and it's going to take a while to get him match fit. He's just going to cause unrest if he doesn't play. He's going to cause mayhem.
Dennis, say what you mean. Say what you mean, honestly.
Dennis, come on, be truthful.
Friends, say what you mean, pal.
We've got about 10 minutes left.
Stop sitting on the fence.
I think that's the thing. Ability-wise, as you showed, he was really good for us. But, that 2018, that calendar year, end of Moyes, start Pellegrini, he was awesome. That was 3 years ago now. So, and he comes with too much baggage. His brother, who's his agent, I think we're all fans of him either. So, I just don't. I think it will cause more negatives than positives.
Yeah, and do you know what? Honestly, I brought it up because it is a rumor, but there have been some real silly rumors. The one I keep seeing is Christian Eriksen, and I've got no idea where it comes from. Why it's the most. It frustrates the life out of me. We've got about 3 number 10s. Why do we want another one? That arguably, yes, of course, on his day is fantastic, but I mean, Like, just what are your thoughts on it?
Well, not to mention the massive wages that would go towards him. Do you really think that Gold and Sullivan are going to pay that for a player that's not really played a lot for Inter? Like, of course he is. Of course they're not. Yeah, I mean, I actually quite like Ericsson as a player, but I just don't think there's any point in signing him for with the sort of personnel that we've got already, and we should be focusing on different areas. We can't just sign players because they've done well in the Premier League before. Like, I'm not a big fan of Lingard as well. I know that's a rumor that keeps on getting swirling about. I don't want Lingard. I don't want Lingard to be signed. Just sign people that are hungry. Sign people. I mean, I've been a big advocate for this guy for ages now, Ivan Toney. I mean, I think you'd be quality to bring him in. We need to sign players like that. We need to sign players like, potentially someone like Seema, who's up and coming, who's, still quite young and already produced at a good level. There's so many better options, and like Dennis has gone on for the last few weeks, under this recruitment and under this regime, we're not getting those targets. We're not getting those kind of people linked with us. We're getting people like Arnie and Lingard and probably Tevez in a couple of weeks' time or something like that. It
wouldn't surprise me if we're linked with Phil Jones or something at one point.
Yeah, probably.
What we need to do very, very quickly, I promise you, but what we need to do as a club fundamentally is get it out of our system of signing the offcuts of better teams, players that cannot get into the better team. We need players that don't see this as, okay, let's get another 80 grand a week deal at West Ham and see if I can reignite my career and get another move. I'd rather sign someone like Ivan Toney and, with the idea of either A, progressing forward with the club, or B, coming to the Premier League, similar to Ollie Watkins, improving what he can do, adding huge value to the price tag and selling him onto the next level, should we not be there around that time. I'm not saying I want to be a selling club, but let's say we sign Ivan Toney, and by the end of next season, we finish mid-table again. He scored 15 goals, and a Champions League side says, we'll take you. So, Graziano Pella, that's the best.
Oh my God, Pella.
That and Diego Costa are the two most January transfer window linked players we've had. Personally, out of all the bollocks players we've been linked with, I actually think Lingard is the one that I can see a use to, but it depends what money we sign him for and bring him in on. But I can live with Lingard, depending on how much we spunk on him.
You know what?
I want to part ways any significant amount of money.
Yeah, if we can get him in on a short, around 10 million, decent wages, I think he could be a useful player.
Not for me.
That.
Absolutely.
All those we've been linked with, we don't.
No.
Yeah, no.
No.
We've not.
Charles is fuming here.
Charles is
He's actually muted himself.
Charles is so angry. He's actually stopped his internet.
It's all right, mate. We're not going to sign Lingard.
I don't know what it is. He's gotten so angry that Simon's pulled the internet.
Yeah, get him off.
He's got all the shouting in the room.
I think Bill started to say it was like, we don't need Lingard. Like, that's what.
Yeah, those kind of players, Ericsson, Ericsson, Lingard, those kind of players. We need more sort of holding midfielders and left-sided left back or left wing back. And even more priority.
Mate, even the strikers. Graziano Pella isn't a strike. We bemoan Allaire every week for not being able to run in behind. Does anyone think a 35-year-old Graziano Pella is going to start stretching the line? No,
100%. It's that, and then it's like, with the money are we going to play? Are we?
Yes.
Well, we're asking. What I'm saying is
a lot of heat right now.
Because I think people have misunderstood what I've said. Out of those names, the one that I could possibly live with is Lingard for the right deal. The other ones are just bollocks, and they won't be what we need, and they won't perform.
Alex,
out of those ones, I think Lingard is the only one that might be right.
Now, look, Alex mentions Josh De Silva, and I was about to actually, sorry, mate, I'm not winding you up. What about Josh De Silva? And look, he is a tidy player, and I think that's what Charles is saying. Like, that mould of an Ivan Toney, De Silva, really profiting off Brentford's really, really specialist scouting network and taking it for ourselves. It seems like, ultimately, but still, like, we've seen, and I think I'm not going to credit particularly David Moyes with the signings of Soucek, but generally the signings under Moyes have been decent. Soufal, however they've come about, they've not been too bad. Yeah, Jared Bowen. So you'd have to trust his judgment a little bit. And I think he knows as well as a manager that we cannot afford to bring in these sort of 35-year-old over the hill type of people because it just won't work anymore. And it doesn't even suit our style. And he's been trying to get rid of Anderson for a long, long time. You're not going to bring a player that doesn't fit with his system in now. So.
Yeah, he doesn't like Hilaire. So, as you say, he's not going to like Pella, is he? So Pella. So,
You should have listened to what I said in the first place then.
Look, now you're really
All
wrong.
anyone's going to hear is Lingard for 10 million, though. That's all they're going to hear.
Right.
Go on, Golden Sullivan, do it.
Yeah, like you said, those Brentford-type players, of course. And also, there's some very good players available on the continent. There's Mattia Zacchini in Hellas Verona, who scored a bicycle kick at the weekend. He's available for £12 million. Milan and the Juve are apparently looking at him for £12 million. An industrial central midfielder is another option for backup, but we don't have the money or the scouting network.
Well,
these are the type of signings.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think possibly the most encouraging thing coming into a January transfer window where we're probably not going to make too much business is the fact that Moyes recognised that, actually come out and said, listen, we're well behind these other teams. And at least we know someone's in there that recognise, because I think he knows that we've been overpromised. And now he can't afford to do that because he's going to roll the fans even more.
I think, like I said, the language he was using at the end of the season, he thought he was going to get some deals. If you're talking about we're going to get early, and I think the reality is set in.
Oh, please don't.
do it for the view. Oh, my God.
That's going to be
terrible.
But it's like Royce was talking about we're going to get early. And I remember we need to pull it up. Sean Whetstone's tweet where he thought we're going to get Ben Rama and Ollie Watkins for $9 million apiece. That was money for old Rob. That was. But Moyes thought before that we were going to get these. I think it's once bitten, twice shy, because the only other window he'd experienced under us was that disastrous 17-18 window. For me, one of the worst we've ever had. That was the Hugo window. That was like the most embarrassing window I've ever. Thing. We were like, we've got our targets lined up. We're going to sign a central midfielder that we need. No. Then Donker, can we loan him, please? No. And then next summer he signs for Wolves on loan. So clearly they would have been open to a loan. So Sullivan's excuse was way out the window.
So we've got Evra as well.
Yeah. That we signed Evra and Hugo, and we signed Ayew to a relegation rival, and Sacco. At the time, they were our joint top goal scorers.
Oh, that was so suspect. I remember thinking...
and then we sold Jose Font for what I believe was some money for something to do with some tax thing. Again, for the libelous, anything libelous, I'm just thinking... It's something to do
allegedly.
With tax, and Dave Sullivan Jr.'s penthouse was a big article in the Daily Mail about it around that time. And we sold Jose Font for what I think was... that was it. When Sullivan took money out of the club for a tax thing because we had an HMRC investigation. No, this was on the BBC. Like, we had an HMRC investigation over it and everything. Like, around
I think we need to go back to
stuff was going on around that season. That's why I say it was the worst window, because it was just embarrassing, and we stayed up because there were 3 worse teams than us, really.
I want to go back to the transfer window where we signed Borriello and Nocerino on loan.
We signed them.
That was a big thing.
Nocerino was a decent player. I'm not having it. He was actually a good player. That's
Nocerino, I think.
It's your Kovac, yeah.
Nocerino would come on for like 10 minutes every time. And I think Borrello got injured like in his 3rd week being with us, and then that injury kept him out for a calf.
I'm sure Big Sam's going to sign up for West Brom now, isn't he? Or get Nocerino in that midfield, shore it up a little bit.
Nocerino and Pablo Amaro. We signed everyone on loan now.
He's all right, Amaro, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the only thing I remember him doing was giving away a horrendous penalty to Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
It was like one of the most ridiculous handballs I've ever seen in my life. Other than that, I don't really remember.
I've got to be honest, mate, I don't remember. I wish I could, but I just can't. But let's wrap it up a little bit. Let's touch on Everton because it was the most recent one. Obviously, that was a really encouraging win, and I think it was the first time in a while, actually, to a degree, Moyes picked the right side, nearly the right side, not perfect. He's never 10 out of 10 Moyesy, but he got it pretty right, and I thought few hairy moments. First 20 minutes, I thought Everton had a lot of the ball. But actually, I thought defensively, we were massively resolute. And I felt like we were the better team in the whole of the 90 minutes.
I mean, Fabianski in goal, maybe, and one of Diop or Balbuena ahead of Dawson and Antonio up top. That's probably our best lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think we...
Close to.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Allaire thing goes on and on, doesn't it? And arguably Antonio could have played. And yeah, of course, it would have made a difference. And ultimately, for me, I felt like he does. But what was interesting as well, just to watch it, is even when Antonio wasn't even on the ball, the fact the team presses as a whole when he's on the field and they look confident to go forward. And that's something you don't really see players that make such a big impact as well. And he's not fully fit either. So it was massively encouraging. Hugely encouraging.
No, it was encouraging. And look, we got the win. I got lots of fancy points because I had Cresswell and Souček in my fancy team. I was happy. Yeah. I was happy with that. Oh, Ogbonna has been absolutely transformed. I mean, I think it was around the time I didn't, obviously before we were doing this channel, but I was like, I wouldn't be too bothered if we sold him in Pellegrini's first year because Balbuena and Diop were so solid together. Now he's been a linchpin for our defence and offensively. He's been really good in the area. He scored 2 goals this season.
We all remember that Balbuena-Ogbonna link up at Leeds. What nearly was. We'll
never forget.
Mate, it was different class, I've got to be honest.
Streets will never forget. Yeah, I want Diamanti back as well, Alex, but it's not happening, mate. I think he's playing out in China now or possibly retired. I'll have to look it up. But by the way, Bill, that football team I couldn't remember was a team called Emley, and they were based in Wakefield, and they were the club was wound up in 2014. That's why no one's ever heard of them. So we played Emley, and they nearly took us to a replay.
But yeah, Corey, as you were saying, that we were
back to the main
point. Moving on. Again, Dawson, Ogbonna were really good. Randolph, made a good save from Bernard, I think it was in the first half. Yeah. And the start of the second half, he not a save so much, but he cleared the ball away when Everton played it forward, and it just stopped in the penalty area, and he cleared it away. So he done well coming in, sort of last minute. And I think it was a testament to how well the defence did that Calvert-Lewin got subbed. He got subbed off.
Calvert-Lewin was so quiet. Honestly, we did a real number on him. And before the game, you predicted 11. I was like, he is that guy. And you nullify him, and then all of a sudden, Everton are trying to come up with sort of answers. They brought on James. I think we all in the watch-along were a bit like, oh, here we go. Here's that number 10 that's going to pull us apart. But like I said before, I think we were so resolute, we didn't really give him much chance.
And the only one who looked a threat for Everton was when Gomez come on.
Yeah, he actually looked really good. He looked quite tired.
They look quiet. So, but, going away from home against a team that were, I think, 4th in the table at the time. Yeah. And then I'm not give them a sniff and look the better side, particularly in the second half. Yeah, and another really good performance.
Yeah, well, it's a typical thing where we turn up against the bigger teams. We played really well against City and Liverpool. Got 1 point out of those 2 games. And then, line up, no line up. Underperformed massively against Brighton and to an extent Southampton. That is the West Ham way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but I mean, what actually impressed me more about the Everton game was the fact that Everton had a week off and we looked the freshest side. And literally, and the 2 players for me that played unbelievable were obviously Declan Rice and Thomas Souček. Their performances, work rate, energy is unreal. But like the fact they're still putting in performances like that after playing almost like 2 consecutive games before, it's nuts. We're quite lucky to have them, let's be honest.
Yeah, so it was a real stroke of good fortune getting the stars aligned and Slavia Prague approved a loan, where I fully anticipated that Sullivan tried to loan Souček and was possibly expecting the usual knockback or whatever, and it was the one time his tactic actually worked. Broken clocks are broke twice a day. Whether we, I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of details, but it was a stroke of good fortune we got Souček, in my opinion. Souček, and we'll do well to keep him. I saw a Twitter poll out. Would you rather sell Souček to keep Rice? And that's the sort of mentality we need to get out of, because we need to keep both of them in order to move the club forwards.
Well, how many years?
Is it likely? Probably not. But we shouldn't be having debates over which one would you sell.
Keep Yeah, exactly.
That's the sort of rubbish you expect from Watford. You know?
Look, I think before Souček come in, we obviously spoke and we were like, we just need that energy in midfield. Like, we just don't have that player with Declan. And actually, Declan's even improved with Souček alongside him. And it's like we're crying out for a box-to-box midfielder for years. We get one, and he's literally that good. You've got clubs like apparently Bayern Munich sniffing around him. But we've got ultimately, and obviously let's not be a selling club here, and you never know with our board, but two really highly valued assets. And their partnership in the Premier League is probably one of the better in terms of centre midfielders.
Yeah, 100%. And to have, talk of, Chelsea to Rice is mainly substantiated on his background, the fact that he came from them. To have, Bayern Munich, the champions of Europe, being linked with one of your midfielders. It's pretty, that doesn't happen at West Ham every so often. When was the last time? I mean, Anton Ferdinand was the last one, except for Payet. Anton Ferdinand's the last player I could think of that was linked with a really big club, and even if that was linked loosely for 5 minutes, when he was linked with Barcelona, at West Ham.
Was he?
He was linked with Barcelona when he won the Young Player of the Month, and there was all paper talk that Barcelona were looking at him or something. It lasted all of about 10 minutes, but that I don't know if Mascherano and Tevez were ever linked with the big ones, but
not sure, man. They missed a trick on not getting Anton Ferdinand in with Gerard Piqué. That would have really, really shored them up.
The point remains is that the champions of Europe, Bayern Munich, an absolute institution, are linked and allegedly interested in one of our players. When does that happen?
Oh no, Matt, I agree. Like this is the first
what he's
time.
doing.
It's the first time in years I can remember having players like other clubs are saying like, "Oh, we'll go and buy you." And I think Golden Sullivan made that for a long time. Like, "Oh yeah, we've kept hold of these players under Big Sam." But truth be told, no one wanted them. And this is the first time we've had players, Grady, Declan. Yeah, exactly. And I think
was the only one of value really.
Yeah, and he went to Hull. Look what happened to him.
Well, he had a $3.5 million release clause that it was rumoured, and I think Hull were like, "Well, we'll see if it exists." Because there was loads of talk of Fulham. I remember there was he had been with us 6 months. Apparently, Fulham had activated it according to Sky Sports, and it just never happened. But that, and I think Payet was the other one. Payet was the other one that was linked with PSG and Real Madrid, but it never happened. And the truth with Payet still is a little bit unclear as to what was real and what was paper talk, what was his agent, But again, let's enjoy it. Let's rather than having polls out there, would you rather sell super?
Yeah, that's so West Ham, isn't it? Just waiting for that impending doom.
Out of the ones, Rice probably will. As I said on watching, Rice probably will have to outgrow the club. Let's be fair here. But let's not think about that right now. Let's think about we're in the top half coming in around Christmas time. When did that last happen? The last season at the Olympics. Is that last season at Upton Park? Because even when we finished 10th under Pellegrini, we were sort of like 12th, 13th for what felt like forever until we had a little flurry of games. We're winning games that we would normally lose. Yeah, okay. Chelsea and Brighton games were crap, but we're going to have those crap games. Let's enjoy it. Let's not talk about selling our star players, and let's not re-sign Marco Arnautovic, please.
For the love of God.
Listen, lads, it's been quality. I think we've touched base. We've even touched on Arnautovic, and obviously it's rolled Dennis a little bit. So got the reaction we wanted. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. The transfer talk show will be tomorrow. It will be live from 8 o'clock. We'll be going through the likes of Arnautovic, probably talking about Bobby Snodgrass a little bit as well. I'm going to try and get a predicted 11 out for the Stockport game. Fingers crossed it's not postponed. Otherwise, it will be a complete waste of time. And then, all being well, watch along will be on Monday from 7:30. So join us then. Don't forget. And until next time, take care.